us. And he gave us like a couple of lines. In particular, he was giving me things that Michelle Obama has actually said, because I think he had the vision of splicing her in. And you almost couldn't believe them. It was like, I think you might need to go back and check that. There's no way that must have come from some other parody. But no, time and time again, it was her exact words. She's even more miserable than we portray.
Michelle Obama is often presented as the ideal American icon, blending the appeal of a lifestyle figure, a cultural star, and a political voice. Yet, Megyn Kelly wasn't convinced and saw through the polished image, finding the glossy presentation far less impressive.
I know this guy, Jay Shetty's podcast, and he asked her something about her greatest fear as of late, and here's what she said.
Current climate for me, it's, what's happening to immigrants. So it's not the fear for myself anymore. I drive around in a 4-car motorcade with a police escort. I'm Michelle Obama.
The media cast Michelle as a fearless truth teller and a first lady beyond comparison, but that story didn't land with Kelly. To her, Michelle seemed more like a carefully crafted product of an industry determined to lift her higher than reality allowed. And once those polished layers were stripped away, Kelly argued, the image of a true leader disappeared, leaving behind what felt like nothing more than an overworked marketing project.
It's unbelievable. Like, even if you're going to spin that as charitably as possible, like, oh, he would have had to live up to Barack Obama. She didn't say that. She didn't then clarify the point to make sure that that's what she meant. And so I genuinely think she meant what she said. Oh God, I'd have another Barack Obama on my hands. And who the hell wants that? I mean, we kind of can relate, but whatever, it's fine. It's different. We're the general public. But
the notion that Michelle Obama represents an untouchable cultural legacy was swiftly challenged by Megyn Kelly. For years, the media has built her up as a style icon, a beacon of moral wisdom, and even a kind of spiritual guide for progressives seeking inspiration. Yet Kelly highlighted a different reality. Michelle's rise, she argued, wasn't rooted in concrete achievements, but in the power of her image. Beyond speeches, glossy photo spreads, and an ongoing drive to expand her presence in books and entertainment, little evidence exists to support the larger-than-life narrative.
Says the bars are just different for people in life. Right. The bar was very different for your husband. Very different. And I'm sure he got into Harvard just based purely on his intellect, right? And Harvard Law School. And he was ushered into the presidency with about 2 minutes of public service behind.
Take her much publicized healthy lunch program in the White House. It was promoted as a bold step against childhood obesity and was meant to win over every American parent. But the reality looked very different. Kids across the country tossed the tasteless kale patties and rubbery carrots straight into the trash. Lunchtime turned into a swap meet, cafeteria workers pushed back, and parents sighed in frustration. Kelly pointed out that Michelle's grand gesture on nutrition ended up fueling an underground trade in pizza slices rather than improving anyone's eating habits, undercutting the very legacy it was supposed to build.
You're universally beloved and celebrated and put on magazine covers. You name your own book, Becoming. Who does that? Okay, but you're still celebrated as one of the world's most lovely and loved people, okay? And you're still unhappy about what again? About the fact that when the girls ride on the plane, you have to pay the equivalent of an airline ticket for them, and you have to pay for your own food. Like every other human alive. Like all of us, right? Like who's going to, she's so out of touch, she doesn't realize we're not going to feel sorry for her for having to pay for her groceries and her kids' airline.
Then came the Netflix deal. Securing a multi-million-dollar contract with the world's biggest streaming platform was hardly a picture of grassroots authenticity. Kelly dissected it with precision. After leaving the White House, Barack and Michelle stepped straight into Hollywood, cashing in on the very system they once critiqued. Their choices, she argued, didn't reflect the people. They reflected opportunism. By turning political fame into a global media empire, the Obamas built influence through branding, not service. Michelle's warm, approachable image, Kelly insisted, was carefully manufactured, closer to a blockbuster production than to genuine leadership.
She's so absurd. We had no idea she was this negative a person when she was first lady and still behind the marketing PR wall that had been placed in front of her. It's been such a gift to see her out there just genuinely her, so we can see She is truly somebody with the darkest vision of life, especially marriage and children, I've ever seen.
And then there were the nonstop book tours. The media treated Michelle's biography like sacred text, drawing stadium-sized audiences as though she were a rock star. But Kelly cut through the hype. The book swung between casting her as a victim and as a hero, page by page, like a self-help guide wrapped in history. Rather than offering an authentic reflection, Michelle delivered a meticulously polished product designed to reinforce her brand and keep the revenue flowing.
If I'm not going to do this thing, I got to tell my team, I don't even want to have a dress ready. Yeah. Right? Because it's so easy to just say, let me do the right.
Was it really such a big sacrifice to ask her to go show up at the inauguration? You know, do you think Jill Biden really wanted to be there, or Laura Bush for that matter? You do it because the country likes these ceremonies. I realize Trump did not go to the inauguration of Joe Biden. That's a separate issue. But she talks about it like, I did what was right for me. Something like I've never done before. And for once, I chose.
Megyn Kelly didn't hesitate to place much of the blame on the media for building this illusion. She pointed out that nearly every glowing profile of Michelle Obama read more like fan fiction than fact. Fashion magazines praised her wardrobe for years. News outlets lauded her speeches, and many treated her as a kind of spiritual figure above politics. Kelly exposed how this media frenzy created a bubble where Michelle, despite a spotless record, was seen as infallible. And it doesn't stop there. Michelle Obama hasn't achieved feats that truly justify such adulation. Sure, she was first lady, but that role is defined by circumstance, not accomplishment. As Kelly noted, she never held elected office, led a major organization, or carried the burdens of real leadership. And one can't ignore her speeches about the hardship of daily life in the White House, which sometimes sounded more like complaints than leadership lessons.
Do you feel comfortable going to work, going to school, when you know that there could be people out here judging you and who could upend your life in a second? That's who I worry for.
There's so much in there, Tucker. I'll let you take a swing at it first.
Well, I mean, my first response is it feels so antique. It feels so 2017. It's like literally nobody cares. Nobody cares at all. All of those talking points, people of color under attack. No, they're not. They're coming here by the millions because this is the safest country for everybody, no matter what.
Kelly explored that contradiction in detail. You can't claim to be a figure of strength while complaining about the trials of living rent-free in the world's most famous residence. Michelle seemed to want to play both the role of sufferer and victor, and Kelly dismantled that balancing act with sharp precision. She also addressed the persistent speculation that Michelle might run for office. Democrats have long hoped for a savior, once Hillary, now perhaps Michelle, but Kelly dismissed that fantasy as wishful thinking. With few political stars left, the party appears to be clutching Michelle's fame like a lifeline. To Kelly, Michelle is more brand than leader. Her name continues to headline speeches, documentaries, and books, trading on nostalgia for the Obama years. It's akin to a once great rock band touring on old hits, celebrated for past glories, while contributing little new to the stage.
The latest soundbite that made the rounds. This happened on June 18th, but I was off. Here it is, 39.
I threw a boy in the mix.
I'm so glad I didn't have a boy.
Yeah. Because he would have been a Barack Obama. It's like baby Barack. It would have been amazing. No, I would have felt for him.
She just borrowed our boys.
Yes, I got it.
Wow.
Did you catch that? She's glad she didn't have a boy because he would have been a Barack Obama. And that's a hard pass for her. This woman can't stand him. She can't.
Wait a minute. Now I like her.
Kelly argued that Michelle's reputation rests not on tangible accomplishments, but on the carefully curated image maintained by media handlers and devoted admirers. Her roast exposed the contradictions in Michelle's message. On one hand, she speaks about civic duty, humility, and sacrifice. On the other, she enjoys multi-million-dollar homes, private jets, and VIP treatment wherever she goes. Kelly pointed out that Michelle's version of empowerment often feels more like a self-promotional campaign. Watch the documentary, buy the book, attend the tour at the steep price of inspiration. Perhaps Kelly's sharpest critique, however, focused on Michelle's role in protecting Barack Obama's legacy. She has become his staunchest defender, turning political setbacks into triumphs with polished speeches and carefully crafted narratives. In Kelly's view, Michelle functions as a living extension of the Obama brand, safeguarding his fragile political mythos. Her critique went beyond poking fun. It was a dissection of the limitations and ambitions of the entire Obama enterprise.
Bitching about having to buy her own groceries while she was living for free in the White House, a staff that was paid for. I didn't even know prior to her latest bitch sesh that the First Lady has her own plane, and that it's called Bright Star.
Right. But she still found a way to complain about it. It's like, so let me just get this straight. We, the people, moved you and your whole family into the White House. We gave him Air Force One. We gave you your own plane. You're in a 55,000 square foot mansion with an 18-acre estate around you, your own rose garden, your own staff, your own...
Kelly didn't shy away from tackling Michelle's role in cultural debates. Though the former First Lady often presents herself as a unifying figure, she has frequently made statements that frame one side of America as modern and the other as outdated. By exposing this double standard, Kelly argued that Michelle functions more as a polished partisan wearing a celebrity mask than as a true bridge builder. Combining sharp humor with undeniable insight, Kelly delivered a roast that landed perfectly. The image of Michelle that lingered in the media afterward was far from the beloved role model often portrayed. Instead, it showed a woman who had perfected the art of performance without producing substantive achievements, riding the currents of history while leveraging her position for fame and fortune. Kelly's brutal, witty critique shattered a bubble that had existed far too long, and did so with the precision and impact it sorely needed.
Not least, she finally spoke to sort of the reason she did not go to Trump's inauguration. And man, this one was important to her.
My decision to skip the inauguration, what people don't realize, or my decision to make choices at the beginning of this year that suited me were met with such ridicule and criticism. Like, people couldn't believe that I was saying no for any other reason, that they had to assume that my marriage was falling apart.
Right.
Michelle Obama ultimately fell short of her supporters' expectations. Kelly described her as yet another high-profile figure who equated success with fame. Her critique shattered the carefully crafted illusion, exposing a far less inspiring reality. A former First Lady who treated leadership like an endless sales pitch, inspiration as a brand, and influence as a source of profit. Kelly didn't frame this as a final judgment. Rather, it served as an opening observation. Despite ongoing promotion of Michelle's image, cracks in the narrative are widening. Every book, lecture, and glossy interview reinforces the myth, yet its emptiness makes its collapse inevitable. Kelly's roast didn't conclude the story. It marked the beginning of the unraveling. Beyond the self-help lectures and nostalgia tours, Michelle continues to present herself as the sage guardian of America's conscience through speaking engagements, podcasts, and Netflix deals, with the media eager to amplify the performance.
Women, when they talk about the glorious ability to be a woman, the glorious fact of being a woman, will mention, as you and I both just did, as one of the first things that makes women truly special, the ability to carry and give birth to a child. It's a gift from God. It's such an extraordinary superpower. Here she is on that.
A lot of male politicians, a lot of male religious leaders think about the issue of choice as if it's just about the fetus, the baby, but women's reproductive health.
But Kelly wasn't impressed. She criticized the hypocrisy of someone who profits from division while preaching unity. The image of Michelle living in multi-million-dollar seaside estates and mingling with billionaires who treated ordinary voters as props, yet claiming to speak for everyday families, was enough to make her smirk. Kelly reminded everyone that rather than leaving a legacy of true leadership, Michelle Obama built a legacy of clever branding. She argued that Michelle remains untouchable in a society that holds other public figures accountable simply because she has perfected staying relevant without taking risks. Megyn's critique was striking because it exposed the emptiness at the center of that carefully constructed empire. She depicted Michelle as someone who leveraged the spotlight of her husband's presidency, sidestepping the burdens of real politics while enjoying fame and influence. Kelly's dismantling was powerful because it shifted the narrative. For years, Michelle had been framed as the graceful target of unfair criticism, the woman who endured it all with dignity. That story became so ingrained it turned into a political legend. However, Kelly expertly dismantled that notion by revealing how Michelle has leaned on a crafted victim narrative to deflect criticism. She challenged the conventional image of the former First Lady. Kelly painted Michelle as someone who wields compassion like armor, using it to gain moral leverage rather than demonstrating true resilience or leadership. Across speeches, interviews, book tours, and Netflix appearances, Michelle's messaging repeatedly relied on this strategy, allowing her to reap the benefits of admiration without shouldering real accountability. Kelly also underscored the media's complicity in maintaining this illusion, highlighting how even repetitive, self-serving, or trivial statements are accepted at face value, further shielding Michelle from scrutiny. By the end of her critique, the carefully curated image of Michelle Obama as an untouchable cultural star had crumbled. What remained was a meticulously promoted brand, a celebrity politics guru whose influence relied less on concrete achievement and more on nostalgia, charm, and relentless marketing. Kelly methodically deconstructed this persona, exposing the emptiness behind the veneer of grace, inspiration, and leadership. Michelle was no longer a symbol of generational voice. She became a carefully packaged emblem of a bygone era, a woman whose fame thrived on image rather than substantive accomplishment.